Hello everyone, my name is Tone Vase, and this is another edition of the Global Market Analysis. Before I begin, just wanted to let you guys know that my presentation from Buenos Aires, Argentina, La Bitcoin Conf, is posted on YouTube along with all the presentations. I'm still in Buenos Aires. It's about 11:30 p.m. here, around 9:30 p.m. on Sunday. Over in New York, where I will be back to in a few days. Okay, so if you are looking for that presentation about Bitcoin and price bubbles and the future and economics, for this video, La Bitcoin Conf from the 5th of November, this was day 2 of the conference. And this actually just took place yesterday. And this was the live viewing. Okay, so strongly recommend going ahead and checking that out. And I talk about the history of the Bitcoin price there. All right, so sorry about that. So I actually just took a look at the futures market, literally like 20 minutes ago. And this is why I like taking a look at the futures market on Sunday. I'm going to refresh this one more time. The S&P is up 26 points. The Dow Jones is up 216 points. And the NASDAQ is up a whopping 69, pretty much 70 points. I have absolutely no idea why. I've been out here in Argentina at the conference. I don't know. I have no idea why, but I do know what to expect going into the morning unless something drastic happens overnight. The way I kind of look at these things, the S&P 500 is my gauge. It's 26. I view the Dow Jones as approximately 10 times the S&P. So if the Dow Jones is more than 10x the S&P, that means Dow is even stronger. And the way I view the NASDAQ is it's more about 2 times the S&P. So if it's more than 2x the S&P, which it clearly is, then that means that tech stocks are extra strong. Okay, we also see that oil is coming back up a little bit and gold is pulling down a little bit as the US dollar is up and the VIX is really taking a hit to the downside. So just something to keep in mind going into the open tomorrow. This is a huge week. We have the presidential election, which I will talk about. But let's jump right into the S&P 500. I don't want to take this video. I don't want this video to take too long. I'm gonna probably start doing things differently. I do think now it's kind of a good idea to keep track of all the previous things I've drawn on the charts. So I might jump onto TradingView charts, or I might stop being cheap and actually pay for a subscription to stock charts, so I can kind of keep my lines and stuff over there. Okay, so we talked about this right here, almost coming back and touching the 50-day decreasing moving average. It's not a perfect reversal candle. This is a perfect reversal candle right here, which was absolutely perfect. This wasn't a great reversal candle. The S&P has now been down 9 days in a row. I think the last time I did this video, I said the S&P was going to be down 7 days in a row, and that would have been the first time that's happened since 2011. It's now been down 9 days in a row, and I have no idea how long it's been since that happened. However, and I know the presidential election is coming up, which will change everything, but it makes sense for the market to bottom. We literally closed right at the 200-day moving average, which was one of my targets. And the RSI has hit oversold, which is something it did not even do over here. So, I mean, you need a reversal. You need confirmation of a reversal, but you can say that we are trending here to the downside. So this is actually the bad part of divergence. The RSI is oversold, so that makes it lower than we were before. Meanwhile, the price is higher. So in these cases, I do tend to trust the RSI longer term. But the fact that the RSI did hit oversold And by the way, this is also confirmed by the MACD. The fact that the RSI had oversold, we're really due for a bounce in the S&P 500. And I really thought the bounce was last Friday. I actually had a personally disappointing day in trading on Friday. Those that were with me in Buenos Aires saw that. I was somewhat profitable as the market was falling, but as the market started to strengthen, my portfolio was skewed to the upside. I did not expect such a big fall in the market in the last few hours of trading on that Friday, this past Friday. So my portfolio is still skewed to the upside. I actually would love to see the bounce that happened. It would have been better on Friday because I had a bunch of options that were expiring. So it would have been great for me personally if we would have closed at 2100. But trading is hard, guys. Don't let anybody ever tell you it's easy. So with the bounce that we are expecting, it should be strong. I really don't see it coming down that quick. I think we'll bounce. This is a major support resistance zone. Mentioned it several times right here. There's absolutely no reason to not bounce into the zone, even going into the election. I have no idea who's going to win. I think Trump will be a surprise win, and it's I believe that can definitely happen. But my confidence is that it will most likely happen. But you never know. The Democrats seem to be still winning in the polls. Now, if Trump wins, I'm expecting a huge scare, like a mini crash, and then we go up because the stock market should be fairly strong. I'm overall bullish the stock market. But it's interesting to see how much we are up. We are above 2100 on the S&P as I speak, with up 25%. And we've pulled back down. As you can see, that candle right there might be too small for your screen. Looks like we were up close to 30 at one point, and the futures have only been open for about 3.5 hours. And the NASDAQ was higher as well, so they were all already higher. So that's kind of my outlook. Big update. Clearly looks like it's going to be on Monday. Probably some follow-through on Tuesday during the election, as all the media will be reporting that Hillary is winning. And then if Trump wins, there could be a big scare. Though no one really knows. I mean, markets tend to do what hurts the most people financially. So if the majority of the people are short, I can certainly see a bounce to the upside and shorts being forced to cover, fueling the rally some more. I wasn't really going to look at the NASDAQ, but because the NASDAQ is up so much more than the S&P, let's take a brief look at the NASDAQ just to see what kind of candle we formed on Friday and to see where the bounce is. Yeah, so the NASDAQ still has plenty of room. The NASDAQ can definitely run with this big bounce. Where are we here on the NASDAQ? We are 47.25-ish. So we're back about 47. We're right in the middle here. I can't really draw right now. But yeah, the 50-day has just turned to the downside. The RSI just hit the oversold condition at 29.31 on Friday. So everything is lining up for a minor bounce before we go all the way back down. If Trump wins, again, that's still an if. No one really knows. The election hasn't happened yet. All right, so let's take a look at gold. And gold is interesting because right now in the pre-market, gold is down about 12 points. So we're back under 1,300. But if we get a scare in the stock market, gold can easily go up. So gold has some room to run here. Let's see, where is our resistance points? So our resistance points, I'll just draw them in yellow. So this is the first one. I'm drawing a full line. I don't really want to do that. I just want to draw a trend line. Let's delete that. Okay, so that would be our first line of resistance. Right near it would be another line of resistance. And right here would be another one, right? So because we have all these guys, we can also draw a trend line. just like that. And from that trend line, you see we have a little more room to run. And we can definitely go into this area. Just going to put a box in there. We definitely still have a bullish zone. We could stop at that trend line, but that may be too obvious. But gold definitely has some room to run. And it's okay if gold pulls back down, back to the 200-day moving average, which seems to have been amazing support. And then from there, gold would make one more upswing, again, on a Trump victory. And after that, the market would reverse. Markets would go up, the dollar would go up, and I would be betting that gold will probably be coming down, but that's still a risky bet. Let's see what happens during the election. As for your momentums, still plenty of room. I would love to see an overbought condition. No sign of slowing down. We're about to cross the Mendoza line of 50 and our 0.5, I should say, for the first time in several months. And so that's a good sign. Okay, so let's leave that be. Let's briefly take a look at the weekly just to see if there is anything there to be mindful of in gold. And now, same trend line. I'm not even going to draw it. It should be obvious right here. From 1377, straight trend line down. And we'll see what happens when we meet at about 1325, 1330. The gold has room to run. Will we hit 1400? I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch. But if we run above 1375, there's definitely some room if we can close above that. Too early to say if we will. I'm leaning towards we won't, but I can easily change my mind on that. I'm still frustrated looking at oil. I will remind everyone why I'm frustrated looking at oil. And the reason for that is I had called trend line. I had called the top in oil right there, going back down to 46. And I said my stop loss would be a daily close above the October high. And we got that. We got it for exactly 1 day. And then it did exactly what I was expecting it to do. So that's why I found it disappointing. Once it started doing exactly what I expected it to do a week earlier, for those that would have been interested in going short, I would have given it more room. And this is where the short position would have been taken. Probably put a box in here. Make it yellow. I probably would have done it during one of these two candles. If I would have done it on the first candle, I'm sure I would have been very frustrated watching it pull back up. If I'd done it on the second candle, probably wouldn't have been frustrated as much. So one of these two candles, I would have probably, maybe even the third one of these three red candles, a close under 50 would have definitely taken me out. The middle candle was a close under 50. And that's when you can re-enter your short if you thought the short was going to happen just a little bit earlier. Okay, so now what's happening is we reached the 200-day moving average. So I can easily see a bounce right here. Which makes sense because oil has been doing the opposite of gold lately. Gold was going up, oil was going down. I'll get to the dollar in a second. So oil is definitely due for a bounce. This is a huge oversold condition. There's maybe another day, of downside. Might have some weird candles with the election, but there's definitely room for oil to go up. And my long-term projection on oil, and people might find this strange, but just like the euro, my long-term projection on oil is one of these. And that's because there's lots of alternatives. We're going to have electric cars everywhere. Everything is going electric. The world is not running out of oil like all these conspiracy theorists were predicting 20 years ago, 30 years ago. The world doesn't have a problem with too much oil. The world doesn't have a problem with too little oil. We have a lot of oil. There's overproduction of oil. Long-term projections for oil are down, and that would actually be bad for governments because they profit a lot, not only from oil revenue, the governments that control the supply of oil. Prices of oil are very, very bad for them. Also, in countries like America, oil gets very heavily taxed. And when the price of oil goes down, the government misses out on that tax revenue, which they promised for all these other projects. Price of oil goes down, and people even drive less these days. A lot of people are working from home, telecommuting. You have a lot of options. So people are driving less. Oil is cheaper. Government is missing oil revenue. They got to raise taxes, so it doesn't really help them either. Okay, so that's oil. Let's jump onto the US dollar real quick. So same thing with the US dollar. I had said that this right here was a bit of a topping pattern, and we hit an overbought condition. However, the MACD did not turn till here, and this was your perfect reversal candle. So I was looking for a pullback in the dollar from this area. Trend line here. I was looking for a pullback from this area. It came a little bit later, so those that are lenient could have still taken this trade, though no one really trades the US dollar. You trade the other currencies. Now, how long can we run? Well, it looks like we're starting to bottom out here. The candles are getting a little bit tighter. We had an indecision doji, I even forgot what this candle is called, but it's definitely an indecision candle. And there might be a little more room to the downside. I don't see MACD reversing, so you need to see a strong reversal. I believe the dollar will reverse, but I really have no clue what's going to happen during the election or how the dollar will behave. But somewhere around here, I'll make it green, we will start to go back up. Dollar strength in the near future is what I'm looking at. Let's I don't even want to see the euro, but maybe I'll look at it for 1 minute. Whoa, that's a big run, and I think this run is also coming to an end. So it's time for the euro to go down. I would wait for some kind of confirmation, a bearish candle. You also had an indecision candle. But my long term for the euro are very, very bearish. I don't think the euro will exist in 5 to 10 years. But I've been saying that for the last 3 years. So, but I'm still saying 3 to 5 years. Okay, the pound. Okay, it's getting late here. GBP. I want to take a look at this real quick because I'm pretty bullish the pound, and that makes perfect sense. So I will annotate this real quick. So I have no idea what this was. I don't know what event it was, but when I saw this in the news, I said, oh my God, this is capitulation. Anyone that bought near the bottom of this candle is a very, very rich person right now. And I have been bullish the pound more than I've been bullish the euro. It's definitely way oversold. I can see the pound going back up. I don't know if it's going to make a new 6-month high or not. I'm not sure if it's going to break 1.3445, but it can come close to it. You do have the 50-day moving average to deal with. But the pound should do fine. But once the dollar starts to go up, it will take all other currencies with it. So the pound will go down, just not as much as the euro. We definitely had our oversold condition, and I would love to see an overbought condition. I would love to see it get back into this range here before it starts to go down. Same thing with the MACD. So I think the pound has a little bit of room. Just want to glance at the weekly chart because the pound's been, since the Brexit, it's been very interesting. Yeah, it definitely has room to run here. A lot of room to run back to the 50-day moving average, which is going to fall quickly now. So probably around 135, we can definitely see the pound to 1.35 area. And maybe even higher, maybe even back to 1.4 before it goes back down. We just hit oversold. So pound definitely has room to run. This low of 1.1415 will be there for a long time. Okay, and finally, let's touch on Bitcoin real quick. My subscription's already expired. I like TradingView, so I will support. Um, I probably get another subscription. Maybe I'll start making all my charts here so my annotations can stay. So last time we talked, I think we were right at the top, literally at this red line, and I said Bitcoin needs to pull back. It needs to go back down to about to the mid 600s. I believe I said the number 650 might have been a little low on this chart right here. You can see that it came down and touched 670. That was around the lows. It depended on what exchange you looked at. As much as I want to say Bitcoin is going to break out to $10,000, looking at this chart objectively, with ignoring the fact that it's a Bitcoin chart, I would say that 670 may not have been the bottom. It is also fairly likely you have a little head and shoulders right here. Not a huge fan of head and shoulders, but everybody else is. Because this was just a big one-day fall. You don't usually get one-day falls, right? Like, look at this. Look at back in June. You had one big fall, and then we come back, and then we have one more fall. That's kind of how things are. You had it here as well. You had one fall. We go back up. We have another fall. In this case, the second fall was just smaller. Look at this over here on this triangle. You had one fall. Then you had a much bigger fall. So things happen twice. I'm waiting for one more big seller. If I'm lucky, it will come back down to the 650 area. Right, maybe this triangle, where this triangle came to a peak around 657. It'll meet its 50-day moving average. We will have one more low in the RSI. If we're lucky, we'll get back to the oversold area. The MACD just crossed, even though that doesn't mean all that much in Bitcoin. I'm not that bullish Bitcoin yet. I still think there's one more leg. One more bad day for Bitcoin, and then it's clear sailing. Now, when am I wrong? I am wrong above the close of, let's say 775. Let's round. A close above 775 makes me wrong, and it opens up a huge open air to the upside at that point. But I would love to see that reached after a deeper pullback. And then we slowly creep our way to 770, 775, and then break above this red line and take off. But again, the election may play havoc with the Bitcoin price. I'm not sure. Both Hillary and Trump are very, very good for Bitcoin in different ways. Hillary will triple down on taxes, which makes Bitcoin a very good use case to help you with that situation. And Trump might double down aggressively on narcotics. And Bitcoin also has a nice use case in that area. All right, so on that note, I think I'm done. I don't think I forgot anything. I see there are some live viewers. I'll give you guys a minute for questions. And let me just read through the comments real quick, see if anyone's already asked anything interesting. If you want to, I think I'm displaying the chat now. I'm not home, so I only have one monitor, so people on TV will see what you see. So everyone's going to see the chat, so watch what you type. Or maybe I shouldn't display other people's names, though it's already too late. Let me not do that. Or maybe I'll just, I'll stop sharing screen. How about that? Let me stop my screen share. And we don't need my camera. All right, so I'll take a question or two. All right, questions. Going once, going twice. All right. Have a good night, guys. It is 10 p.m. in New York, 12 a.m. by 12 a.m. by me, midnight. But it's Argentina. This is when the party starts. So we'll see what people are up to. All right. Good luck trading. Huge week tomorrow. I am back election day. And the following day, I will be off to Russia to another conference in case people are there. And I will probably do a video after election day or Wednesday morning after I know who won the election to kind of throw my views of the market. All right. On that note, good night, everyone.